Hello every pony and everybody. This is Icy Night, reading chapter 5. This is going to be an interesting chapter because my printer decided to cancel in ink on the last 3 pages. So I decided, because I value my promises, I was going to take a screenshot and thus reading it from there, and I'm going to transfer over to the other pages but regardless of how it is to be done, it shall be done. I hope you guys enjoy. Chapter 5. Applejack nervously taps her hoof against the floor of the chariot, testing for what must have been the 100th time that the floor was sturdy. The earth pony thought flying in the chariot would be more reassuring than the harness she's been forced to wear yesterday. Now, sitting in this, who knows how old wooden chariot, with no sort of safety straps or anything, Applejack was starting to miss the harness. At least yesterday, she felt reassured she wouldn't fall. Now it felt as if the gentlest of breezes could break the chariot in pieces. "Are we almost there?" Applejack asked the princess, who long since given up trying to persuade her friend that she was perfectly safe, and that even if the transport happens to break, she would catch her. "Do you see a tall white castle in the mountain?" Luna dully asked. "For the 10th time since they left." Applejack shakes her head. "Then no, Applejack, we are not there, nor will we be there for some time. So please relax and enjoy the view." Looking over the side, AJ gulps as she stares at the ground, becoming airsick again. Sighing, Luna floats over a paper bag for the earth pony, who snatches it up mid-air and begins taking deep, long breaths. "Is it truly that frightening?" asked Luna. Applejack puts the bag down, giving Luna a pointed look. "You have wings. You wouldn't understand. Knowing if you fall, that's it. You're done. It's a horrible feeling, knowing you can die at any moment. But you have faced many dangers before and could have died. Why is this so frightening to you?" "Those other times, I could do something about it. This, I can't do anything. It's just a splat and I'm gone," Applejack said, throwing her hose up in the air to illustrate her point. Luna was feeling, well, she wasn't sure what she was feeling actually. Fear of falling? She's never thought about such a thing. She tries to imagine falling with no wings, trying to understand the fear, and she could not. She wished there was a way she could understand so she could help her friend. Spotting a rope on the floor, Luna got an idea. Grabbing the rope, she ties it around her waist and then around Applejack's, prompting the earth mare to stare as Luna finished her work. "There. Now, should anything happen, I will catch you no matter what. Now rest easy. Stress is no good for your coat," Luna jokes, as she rubs her hoof down Applejack's neck. The earth mare began to relax as the tension was removed from her back. Luna cast a light sleeping spell on her, Applejack's eyes closing, the mare curling up on the floor in a peaceful snooze. With Applejack secured, Luna took a moment to enjoy the flight, letting her mind be free of the lump of dread that filled her soul. Things between her and Celestia were lukewarm at best right now. But after today, things could either be back to how they used to be, or they could fall further apart than ever before. It depends on Celestia, however the dice rolls, whether or not the Princess of the Sun approves of her plans. Luna would not stop until she made Equestria safe. Taking another calming breath, Luna let her doubts wash away. Celestia was her sister, and sisters support one another. A little thing like raising a pony army to patrol the lands wouldn't drive them apart. Celestia would see that this was the right thing to do, but still. Enough. Calm yourself, Luna. Look for a distraction, she chides, letting her gaze drift to the two stallions pulling her chariot. Sixes and Fierce Fury. Both of them look rather dashing in the old equestrian armor. Sixes could almost pass for a normal Pegasus, not for his leathery wings. But even then, ponies would probably assume he was a bat pony rather than a dragon pony. Fierce Fury, on the other hoof, was a different matter. The other stallion was rather unique, even among the Renin, with his striking red feathers and feathery tail. He looks more like a phoenix pony than a dragon. Luna had heard of a race of feather dragons, but she would have some research when she returns from Canterlot. Speaking of Canterlot, there it was just over the horizon, or rather above it. The city of the unicorns sat on the side of a large mountain, tall white towers reaching up into the sky as if trying to touch the heavens. A truly arrogant notion, if Luna were to be honest. True, once upon a time, unicorns could once move the sun and moon, but very few knew of the terrible fate of what happened to those ponies. Simply put, the stress of moving such large and powerful celestial objects killed all the participants. Not right away, of course. 100 unicorns were needed to move the sun and moon, but even in such group, to move the sun and the moon every day, you were going to run out of fresh ponies really quickly. At best, a unicorn might last 5 to 20 years after participating in the ritual after 200 moons. Other than master race nonsense some unicorns still hold to, building a city on top of a mountain with no natural resources nearby is kind of stupid. All goods had to be flown in or carried up a very steep road, and ponies wondered why everything was so high priced in Canterlot. Descend here. We shall land in the royal airstrip on the west side of the castle. You should see it at any moment now. Luna points her hoof at a small, clear strip of space, where several other chariots were parked off to the side. Chariots of nobles, no doubt, given the tight security around them. As they land, several different colored helmets follow them with suspicion. Each noble insisted they had to have their own private police force for reasons they don't feel the need to give. Whispers swept through the crowd by both guards and servants as Luna steps off the chariot. Arose Applejack from her forced slumber. Sixes and Fury both quickly took position alongside Luna as worker ponies came to attend to their chariot. Stay close, all of you. We are not in friendly company, Luna whispers as they pass some guards in yellow. Soldiers of Lord Yellowblood, a pony that Luna never liked nor wished to interact with any level. The three nod as they all enter the castle. The few guards that tend to the princess quickly step aside as the princess of the night marches down the corridor with fierce determination glaring in her eyes. Today, things would change in Equestria for better or for worse. Princess Celestia of the Sun sat in her big, puffy chair at the head of a circular table with ponies of noble birth flanking either side of her. They were the lords and ladies of Canterlot, the creme de la creme of ponies as they like to refer themselves, but Celestia called them the Rainbow Council. Why? Well, that would do with the fact of their names. Lord Redblood, Lady Orangeblood, Lord Yellowblood, Duke Greenblood, Duke Blueblood, and finally Duchess Violetblood. Together they ran Canterlot and Equestria as a whole, and by ran together what Celestia really meant. But she suggests her ideas, and they tell her why she's wrong. It was a rather irritating affair. Even more so when they discuss their ideas, and any resistance on her part was met with more resistance, and nothing got done until they had their way. Oh, but if you were queen, you could outvote us, they would say. Well, the only way Celestia can become queen would be to marry one of their children, and frankly she found the idea rather revolting. Not that their children were not handsome, she just didn't want to be tied to any of them in such a way. Oh, and there was the whole must produce a royal heir thing. Meaning they want more alicorns, and having such genes in their family would assure their dominance. However, there was one little problem with their plan. Alicorns can only be born if both parents are alicorns. Celestia doesn't know how many times she had to explain this to them, but they refused to listen, convinced that their royal bloodlines would be sufficient, as if the rules of genetics didn't affect them. Celestia hunches her shoulders as Duke Greenblood continues on about something, and she wonders why she took the role of princess. Oh right, Starsworld, he was the one who convinced me and Looney to take this job, promising to help along the way. Now, if only he would get out of his workshop and actually help ruling like he promised. Seeth Celestia, thinking of Starsworld's constant excuses of being too busy with his experiments to help her. Sure, she indulges in his adventures from time to time, but when push comes to shove and the kingdom needs her to do her job, when she needs him, Starsworld locks himself away in his workshop and wouldn't be seen for who knew how long. He would have died in there for all she knew. The sound of the door opening halts Celestia's boarding thoughts, and Greenblood's babble as A messenger pony nervously enters the council room. There was a rule in place that the council chambers weren't to be open while they were in session unless it was important, like an invitation or something like that, and judging by the pony's hesitance, that wasn't the case. "How dare you interrupt me, you worthless—" "Duke Greenblood," snapped Celestia, making the green stallion clamp up and retake his seat. After sternly glaring at the other nobles, Celestia's expression softens as she addresses the nervous, wall-eyed messenger. "What is the matter, Dippy?" The gray mare taps her hoof nervously as the nobles glare at her. She was sure they would do something to her when the princess' attention was elsewhere. For now, she can only do her job. "Your sister, Princess Luna, wishes to have a private audience with you, Princess Celestia. She waits in the solar tower. She says to come right away." The room was abuzz with chatter as the nobles whispered quietly amongst themselves. "Princess Luna in Canterlot? This could spell trouble for us." Lord Yellowblood quickly calls for the room attention. "Princess or no, we are in an important meeting, and it cannot be interrupted on the whims of a single mare," Yellowblood said smugly. However, the tapping of booted hooves made him double-take as he and his fellow nobles saw Celestia walk out the room. "Princess Celestia, what do you think you are doing?" "I'm going to go converse with my sister, your lordship," Celestia told him flatly. "Besides, I think we have done enough delegating today. Time for a break. Till next time, my dear little ponies," she sang as the doors were slammed shut. Outside, Celestia smiles at the mayor who saved her from the dreadful meeting. "Thank you so much, Dippy. Is there anything you need?" The gray mare nervously looks at the closed council doors. "Nothing, Princess. I'll be fine. Thank you for the offer." Celestia quickly hid her frown. "Oh, okay. If you would be so kind as to bring me and my sister some tea, make that some tea and coffee as well, and some snacks, I'll be most grateful. Have Stronghold and Bison help you." Derpy shakes die down at the mention of Celestia's most loyal guards. Celestia's only guards, in fact. She gave her thanks before trotting off. The two Pegasus guards trotting after her. Celestia stops them with her hoe for a brief moment. Nothing happens to her this time. Celestia turns and faces the council door. Nothing! The solar tower was the tallest tower in Canterlot. Parallel to it was the lunar tower, the second tallest tower in Canterlot, shorter by only a few feet. Close up, no pony could tell the difference. But looking towards the city, it was amazing what a few less feet could do. The towers had been made for Celestia and Luna to cast their magic over the sun and moon and act as their rooms in private getaway when they were in Canterlot. Very few ponies asked why the lunar tower was shorter. Simply not seeing it was important. Luna had taken it to stride and brushed it off, never asking why, even though the towers were supposed to be made in equal height. Celestia, however, did question it, and the answer she got was the builders ran out of funding and had to make some cuts. a strange claim when the solar tower had been built after the lunar tower. The builder had been a pony named Yellowbrick, one of Lord Yellowblood's sons. "You okay, Luna?" asked Applejack, as the Princess of the Night glares at the lunar tower as if glaring it could somehow make it taller. Glaring at it would cause it to fall to rubble. Sorry. "I'm fine, Applejack, just a bit nervous," said Luna, as the sound of the booted hooves echoed through the stone corridors. Celestia was almost here. The doors of the room flew open as the Princess of the Sun gleefully bounded over to her sister, delivering a flying hug that brought both princesses to the floor in a heap of limbs. Celestia laughing joyfully until she was roughly pulled off the ground by a pair of scaly hooves. "Oh my!" the Princess of the Sun chuckles as she took in the two Renin stallions, who were putting on their best serious face for the occasion. However, things got awkward as Celestia began to cry as she hugged her sister again. "Wah! My sister is growing up. Oh, Looney, how could you do this to me? Having not one, but two cold friends and a mare. I'm such a horrible big sister, letting my little sister develop such a moral taste. Mother would strike me down with lightning if she were here now." Applejack, Sixes, and Fury all took a big step away from the two sisters as Luna's coat literally turns red with embarrassment and more than likely anger. "Enough of thy foolishness, sister. We are here on serious business," Luna shouts in her Canterlot voice. The volume shook the castle and left Celestia's ears ringing and her mane blown back. "Right. Sorry," Celestia apologizes, cleaning her ears and smoothing down her mane. Looking at the other ponies in the room, Celestia took a more critical look at them. The mare Applejack, she believed her name was, she had met at the castle of the sisters, as well as her family. Next was the more interesting ponies, the two stallions dressed in the armor of her parents. Both were rather unique in their own rights. Celestia floats some cushions over for every pony, just as Derpy arrived with the drinks and snacks. She had to give the wall-eyed mare credit. She didn't even flinch when she served two strange stallions. Every pony was used to bat ponies, as they tend to keep to themselves. "Thank you, Dippy. That will be all." Celestia dismissed the mare, focusing her attention on her sister as she brewed her favorite tea while Luna made coffee. "So what do you want to talk about? Must be important for you to come all the way here to Canterlot, especially after..." Luna grits her teeth, raising her hoof for Celestia to stop. "Please do not speak of that day." Shivering under her sister's cold gaze, Celestia quickly decides to change topics. "Of course. Apologies, Luna. So who are your new friends?" "I've met the mayor. It has been a long while since I've seen bat ponies of any kind for years. Since when did they grow feathers?" Luna took a sip of her coffee, finding it adequate, and then took a chocolate cupcake from the snack tray. "The taller one is Sixes, and the shorter one is called Fierce Fury. Fury for short. They are not bat ponies, but Renin." There was a pause before Celestia ungratefully and uncouthly and liberally spat her tea into her sister's face, drenching the night blue mare's mane and leaving her unamused by her sister's reaction. "Renin, as in bat ponies, that kind of Renin? You must be joking, Luna. Is this one of your pranks? If it is, enough," Luna demands, stopping Celestia's babble. She points to Sixes in fury and said, "Show her proof." The two shadow bullets look at one another, unsure what they could show as proof, but they didn't want to let Luna down, so they decide to do something simple. Sixes reveals his teeth while snorting smoke out of his snout, while Fury held up his right foreleg, morphing his hoof into a dragon's claw, complete with a thumb. Celestia gasped, astonished by the display. "Impossible," she mutters, walking over to the two. She pokes and prods them to prove what she was seeing was real. "Amazing. I'm sure Stars World would love to have both of you as test subjects." Sixes and Fury flinched. Fury, growling as he tore his claw away from Celestia, leaving a small cut on the Sun's Princess foreleg. Celestia flinches back away from the two aghast stallions, more for their safety than for hers. "Calm down, you two. No one will be taking any pony test subject. You have my word," Luna said as she approaches the two stallions, her words calling them. "Sixes, why don't you stand guard outside? Applejack, Fury, why don't you go explore Canterlot?" "Why would you want to do that exactly?" Applejack asks skeptically, hating the idea intensely. Luna sighs as she rubs her temple, feeling a headache coming on. "Just humor me, please. It will be a good experience. Plus, there's a certain pony I want you to find. Remember?" Other than talking to her sister, there was another matter that brought Luna to Canterlot, and that was Adventure Pony Gadget, who, according to lore, lives somewhere in Canterlot. Of course, somewhere could mean anywhere from the lower districts to the castle. She didn't expect Applejack and Fury to find him, but it was something for them to do. She would address Sixes and Fury's reactions later in a more private setting. Applejack nods and leads Fury out the door, who kept a distrustful gaze on Celestia. Sixes took his post at the door, addressing the two. "Remember, if you find yourselves in trouble, simply roar, and the princess and I shall come to you." Yeah. How loud is this roar of yours again?" Applejack asked, imagining panicking ponies running everywhere, thinking a dragon was attacking or something. Sixes smiles and winks. "Loud enough, my friend. Loud enough. Oh, and don't be put out if Fury gives you the cold shoulder. He's a quiet pony." Applejack waves him off. "It's okay. I like him quiet." The two stallions look at her, making her blush and hid behind her braid. That wasn't supposed to come out like that. Darn it. Did it again. Let's just go already. Applejack fumes, dragging Fury along with her. "What was that all about?" Celestia asks as she refills her teacup. Seeing a pony look at her with such hatred and disgust nearly broke her heart. Nothing like this has happened to her before. "I don't know," Lynn answers honestly. "I suppose things might become clearer if I explain how I found Sixes and Fury and the other kin." "Their other kin?" Luna nods somberly. beginning the tale of her and Applejack's journey to Mount Firehorn, debating whether she should inform Celestia of Applejack's training, but decides to leave that out as well as several other details, such as why she was going to Firehorn. When she got to the mountain top, though, she was 100% honest, telling her sister the number of bred ponies on there and their lack of memory. Celestia didn't speak right away. She paced back and forth across the room as she digested all of the information. The Sun Princess agreed with her sister. There was no natural way for 150 dragon ponies to be born and no pony noticed, especially given their wide age range. Their lack of memory was even more disturbing. It's almost as if they appeared from nowhere. Celestia chose her words carefully. "What do you plan to do with them, sister?" The Sun Princess asked, facing her sister, not as the loving elder sister, but as the ruler of Equestria to her co-ruler. Luna swallows hard, but kept firm, and stares down her sister with equal conviction. I plan to make them good use for Equestria. They are a fierce and strong-willed lot, in need of a purpose. I plan to give them one. Luna looks out the window towards the vast land of their kingdom. From here, it looks so peaceful, but she knew otherwise. Over these past weeks, I have seen many things, sister. Things that cannot be fixed with debates and words alone. Things that need action and ponies willing to do what is needed without restriction. I don't understand, Luna. What is it you're getting at? What I mean, sister, I'm forming an army to battle against the creatures of the night and help our subjects, who are in dire need of hoof and steel rather than empty promises, and I will do it with or without your support. Meanwhile, in the streets of Canterlot, Applejack and Fury were having some problems. "You think we're lost?" Applejack asked, looking between the confusing street names, trying to find a frame of reference. She would have thought you could see the castle anywhere in Canterlot, but she was proved wrong, as the castle's tall spires went into the background with the city's other tall spires, each of them looking alike. Sure would help if we even knew where to look for this pony. No map, no address. How does Laura stay in contact with him? We should look for the Smith's area of town. If he has an armor, some ponies should surely know of him. Fury suggests, pointing his hoof down the lane. I smell a lot of smoke from that direction. It is mostly likely the foraging district. That or a fire has broken out. Unlikely given the metallic scent mixed in. Applejack stares at Fury, sampling that air only to get a whiff normal city smells, such as the garbage that litters the streets and many unwashed pony bodies. She quickly passed her hoof over her nose, cursing her curiosity. Oh boy, how do you really smell that through that stench? Chuckling, Fury trots away, Applejack following, with her hoof still over her nose. Hey, you gonna answer me? The two wandered for about an hour, crisscrossing several streets, chasing after the ever-elusive scent of smoke. Their quest suddenly became more difficult as the hour for supper arrived and every household lit their fires. Hungry and hooves aching, Fury and Applejack decided to take a break. Oddly, they found themselves sitting on a bench in the cemetery of all things. No pony around except an old mare placing flowers on graves. Applejack decides to ask the mare for directions while Fury stays on the bench. "Excuse me, ma'am," Applejack asks, getting the mare's attention. "Do you know of a pony named Gadget?" The old mare stopped short of the next grave, giving Applejack her attention while chomping loudly on thatch of alfalfa? "Well, aren't you a pretty young thing? You and your occult friend out for a walk?" Applejack blushes at the accusation, looking back at Fury, who looks back with a raised eyebrow. The old mare chuckles as Applejack denies the claim. "Me and him aren't like that. In fact, we barely know each other. And I asked you—" "I know, dearie, I know. Just having a little fun is all. You younglings are so uptight nowadays. Anyway, you're looking for a star wind?" "No, Gadget," Applejack yells, and then sheepishly apologizes as the mare glares at her for yelling. "Starwind," the mare huffs. "Or Starwind the Beardless is Gadget. I know, I was the one that gave him his name when he was growing up." "You're his mother?" The mare shakes her head. "I never said that. Now stop interrupting me. Where was I? Oh yes, Starwind was the name I gave him when he was growing up in the orphanage. He gave himself the name Beardless after meeting Star Swirl the Bearded. He thought it was clever. Then he changed his name after he got his mark, 3 Gears. That crazy pony has a real talent for making things. I think he lives down on the trotting lane a couple blocks down. Real dangerous place. Most ponies avoid it if they can." "I see. Thanks for the information, ma'am." "You be careful now, miss. Lots of ponies go missing around those parts, especially the pretty ones like yourself. I hope your stallion friend over there knows how to tassel." Applejack looks at Fierce Fury, sitting calmly on the bench waiting for her. Despite his name, he seemed like a very calm pony for what she's seen of him so far. He's barely spoken for the short amount of time they've traveled together, preferring to stay quiet. Some would take this for meekness or weakness, but in her experience, it was the quiet ones you had to watch out for. "Thanks for the warning. We'll be careful." The old mare nods, returning to her flower laying. Applejack trots back to Fury, taking a peek at one of the tombstones. It read, "Here lies Furious, orphan." The date of death was a few years before Applejack herself was born. There seemed to be a lot of similar tombstones for orphans. Applejack looks back at the old mare, who continues with her work. There seemed to be no end to the flowers she laid down for the dead foals. How many were buried here? The question brought a shiver down Applejack's spine as she looks out into the fields of stones that stretch for miles. "Did you find out anything useful?" Fury asks, shaking Applejack out of her stir and thankfully taking her mind off the gloomy nature of the cemetery. "Trotting lane, a few blocks that way. We'll find Gadget or Starwind. The guy goes by 2 names apparently. Fury snorts, his heart breath steaming in the cold air. Don't matter if he had 3 or 4 names as long as he's our pony. Doesn't matter what he's called. You're just a ball of sunshine. You don't have to be serious all the time, you know, said Applejack, playfully poking the Renin in the side. Fairy pushes her hoof away. We can evaluate my demeanor later. Let's get going. Alright. But will it kill you to smile? Asked Applejack. Fairy opens his mouth wide in a big smile, showing off his sharp teeth. Oh, right. I forgot. Red Renin seemed to find some amusement in her reaction. She swore she saw a smirk on Fury's lips as he trots away. Maybe he did have some humor in him, Applejack thought, as she follows after him. Trotting Lane, like the old mare had said, was a bad part of town. Not that the 2 ponies walking down the lane had high opinions of Canterlot, but this lane definitely put the bad part of town. Garbage litters the street, the road was mud and other things. The buzzing flies didn't paint a good picture, nor did the smell. Slander was painted at the houses, broken windows were common, and the rest of the houses barely looked livable. If things were this bad, why didn't ponies just move out of the city for the country? Sure, there was the wilderness monsters, bandits, harsh weather, and overall tough living conditions, but at least there was always hope out on the country. This place, there was no hope left in it, or any pony that even cared enough to hope for something better. Gosh, shit, I forgot to ask which house was his, cursed Applejack for her short-sightedness. They may have the street pinned down, but there were at least 30 or more houses, including apartments, to search. Personally, she wasn't looking forward to meeting every pony on the block. Suddenly a scream of, "Some pony help me!" caught the 2's attention. Barreling down the opposite side of the lane was a unicorn filly, or young mare. She didn't look that much younger than Applejack guessed. The filly had a yellow tawny coat and a head of pure black hair. She was being chased by some very big and very mean looking stallions. "Come on, let's go!" Applejack's voice pouting out as the stallion was already charging ahead without her. "You're coming with us, Dusk. Some very important ponies have interest in you. Gift. We've tried being nice, but that boneheaded father of yours can't save you now," the lead stallion taunts. The mare Dusk, presses her body closer to a wall, as if trying to phase through it. Sparks of black allure magic bursting out of her horn as she fearfully tries to use her magic. But the lead stallion, who is also a unicorn, cancels spell before it could form. "Nice try," he chuckles, revealing a ring from his saddlebag. "But not good enough. Now if you would be so kindly as to put this anti-magic ring on your horn, we can make this quick and painless. Our boss prefers undamaged goods." "No! Stay away from me!" Dusk screams. But one of the other stallions cut her voice with his hoof. The lead stallion advanced, holding the ring up with his magic. The ring floats closer to Dusk's horn. She struggles harder the closer it gets, but it was all in vain. Tears flow freely down her face. Her dad had warned her about going out alone, but she just had to go to that party. She had wanted to taste freedom and see what it was like to be a normal pony for once. Now her life was over. Her dad probably wouldn't even know she was gone till tomorrow. When he gets into a project, he forgets to even take care of himself, let alone her. He would have starved or died of dehydration if she wasn't around to remind him he needs food and water. Also sleep. He hardly gets any of that either. He looks like some pony punched him in the face with the black circles around his eyes. Resigned to her fate, Dusk closes her eyes as the anti-magic ring touches her horn. Already she could feel its effects taking hold. The stallion's chuckling at her plight. She was so sure it was all over that she didn't even register the yellow pain from one of the stallions at first. She finally did when she felt the hoof ripped away from her mouth and the ring tossed aside, landing her rump. She opens her eyes to see a red armored Pegasus standing protectively over her. "Who the hay are you, you darn feathered brain?" one of the stallions demanded. No pony ever got in their way before. They knew who they worked for, and they knew better than to try to get in their way. "Fury, hold up!" An angry orange mare wearing some sort of dark blue bodysuit with gold boots demands as she skids to a stop next to the Pegasus. "We're supposed to be a team. You don't go leaving your teammate behind." "Not right now, Applejack," Fury growls, steaming the smoke blowing out of his snout, his hooves unclenching into claws. "Take care of the filly. I'm going to show you why they call me Fury." Roaring like an angry dragon, Fury unleashes his claws, pouncing on the nearest unicorn, taking him down in an instant. The others charged their horns to attack. It was 10-2. They had them outnumbered, was their thoughts, and they fired beams of magic. Fury took to the air, avoiding the beams. Swooping down, he grabs hold of one of the unicorn's backsides, carrying him off into the air. The unicorn screaming for him to let him go. "All right, if that's what you want," said Fury, letting the unicorn fall. He and his friends were so surprised that he actually let go that the other unicorn stallions didn't even try to catch their friend, who landed on the ground. 2 down, 8 to go. "Let's separate the mares from the stallions, shall we?" Inhaling, Fury's chest extended, a soft red glow flashing beneath his scaly coat. The unicorns were so confused by his actions that they didn't even prepare any defenses. After all, since when did Pegasus breathe fire? Blasting streams of hot flames, Fury hit one stallion directly. The stallion ran in circles, trying to put out the fire by rolling in the mud. Another 2 fled in terror. The remaining 4 charged at Applejack and Dusk, hoping to complete their mission and run home. They might have thought Applejack, being a mare, would make an easy opponent. After all, they had taken on plenty before. They were in for a surprise. With as much fury as her companion Applejack turns and apple bucks the first unicorn that got too close. Teeth flew and his horn snaps as his hooves connects with his face. The second was met with a wall of stone spikes, Applejack creating them with her greaves the moment her hooves touched the ground. Turning, she slaps her front hoof against the stone spike, just as Luna had shown her. The spikes burst into thousands of tiny shards and cut up the two last remaining stallions, the fourth and final running with his tail between his legs. He didn't get far, though, as a blast of gray magic blasted him into a nearby house. "Daddy!" Dusk cries happily, running to the unicorn stallion emerging from one of the nearby houses. He was an older pony, probably late 30s. His coat and mane were both graying and fading, leaving only shadow of his former colors, which appeared to be amber and blonde. On his flanks were 3 gears. "Dusk, thank the princesses you're safe," the father explains. Hugging his daughter lovingly, making Applejack, "Aww." And then he thumps Dusk upside the head. "What did I tell you about going out on your own? If I hadn't had to use the bathroom, I never found out you snuck out till it was too late." "I'm sorry, Daddy," Dusk cries, hugging her father's leg. His expression softens as he hugs her again. "I know you are, sweetie. Please don't scare me like that again, baby. I'm too old to be running around like a brash knight from a fairy tale. You have to be more careful," the father told his daughter. He looks at Applejack and Fury, smiling at the 2 ponies who had saved his daughter. "Thank you for saving my daughter. I'm Gadget, and this is my daughter, Dusk. Judging by your armor, you work for the princesses, yes?" "How do you know that?" Applejack asked. Gadget chuckles, pointing at Fury. "It's been a while, but I recognize that shady piece of work the lad wears. My father made it after all." "Oh, but look at me being rude. You 2 want to come in my house out of the mud and cold? I got some warm hot chocolate on the kettle, and I should probably go check that before my house burns down. Follow me!" Fury and Applejack look at one another, then at the destruction they caused to the streets and bodies lying unmoving on the muddy streets. Silently they agree that following Gadget would be wise. Plus, he was the pony they were looking for, so 2 birds with 1 stone. Gadget's home looked about as well as the other homes on Trotting Lane, though it was a little better shape, or at least better maintained than the other houses. Patchwork litters the outer walls. The windows were buried and boarded, except for one on the 2nd floor. Gadget let them in the front door, which led to a small mud room connecting to the kitchen, which was a mess. "Sorry for the mess. I'm sure there are some clean cups around here." Gadget rummages around the cupboards, pulling out 3 cups with his magic. "Here we go," he said, placing the cups on the table. "Where's my cup, Dad?" Gadget taps his chin. I don't know. In your room, where you were supposed to be?" "I'm grounded, aren't I?" "You are correct." Gadget nods. "Now go to your room and no more sneaking out." Dusk nods sadly and climbs the stairs. "And no eavesdropping." The sound of dashing hooves thunders above as Dusk scurries to her bed. With the filly in bed, the 3 adults gather around the table and casually sip their hot chocolate. Minutes passed, more hot chocolate was poured, and snacks were offered and politely declined. 30 minutes later, after a little small talk, the time for business arrived. So Fierce Fury, Applejack, what can I do for you? Not to be arrogant, but I'm the only pony on Trotting Lane that ponies come to see, mainly because of my workshop in blacksmithing. I assume you came looking for me for a job. That's right. Allure and Firehorn showed Princess Luna this special armor, called Moon Phase Armor. She said you made it, and the princess would like you to help make a large order for her, Applejack explains. The princess is willing to pay and move you and your family to the castle of the two sisters and hire you on as permanent worker there. Gadget calmly sips his hot chocolate, murmuring over Applejack's words. He really didn't have any problem leaving Canterlot. It's not like he had any friends or other families in the city, but it wasn't exactly safe for dusk here. A tempting offer, and my respects for not asking about my daughter. I can see the question burning in your eyes, though, so I might as well tell you since we will be working with each other. You and the princess should know the baggage that I come with. Gadget exhaled deeply, setting his cup on the table as he began his tale. My daughter Dusk, she is gifted, very gifted. She has more magical power than I did at her age. Power I don't even have at my age now, and certain ponies have taken any special interest in her. Those stallions you met have bosses in very high places, if you catch my meaning. I think I get your meaning, but just to clarify, you're taking the job? You bet. Alright, gather your stuff. I'll stay here as protection while Fury will go and get the princess. You okay with that, Fury? Applejack asked. That's the logical thing to do. I'll be back soon. Fury left the house and took to the sky. He's a serious one, isn't he? Gadget jokes, hopping out of his chair, waving for Applejack to follow him. It won't take long for him to get back. Better get started on packing. I need to get all my inventions and blueprints stored away and destroy everything else. Gadget pushes the door to his workshop open, revealing walls and walls of papers and blueprints. Strange machines and parts were scattered everywhere. It was a little overwhelming for Applejack. We need to pack all of this? No, only 85% of it. The rest can be burned and shredded. Come on, let's get to work. At the castle. Luna and Celestia have been in hot debate for the past few hours. For the castle staff, it was the first time they have ever heard the princesses yell. Not the stop brinking and shouting up yell that Celestia used on rare occasions, but actual yelling between two sisters. This is madness, Luna! You will be putting ponies in danger, yelled Celestia. Ponies need to learn to defend themselves, Celestia. We may have more magic than every pony in Equestria, but we are not invincible. We cannot be everywhere. We cannot protect every pony. What will happen when we pass on, like others of our kind? Luna argues, yelling back. Symphony is with child. Our race will make a comeback. Stop lying to yourself, Celestia. We are going to mate with our cousin's son. We both know that pure bloodline is nonsense. Admit it. This is the end of alicorns. It's time to look to the future. Star Swirl is making a spell that could change everything. You can make more of us, Luna. Luna blinks, while Celestia covers her mouth, hoping no pony overheard her. It would be very bad if certain nobles found out alicorns could be made. What insanity are thou talking about, Celestia? Make alicorns? Is what we believe was said? Luna asked pointedly. Celestia nervously backing away while Luna dances on her. Say it again. What is this insanity? The door opens and Six's answers with Fury beside him. Princess, we have found him. Luna nods, taking a step back from her sister while brushing down her coat. Very good. Take me to him. I believe I am done here. Goodbye, sister. Goodbye, Luna, Celestia whispers as the blue mare exits the room feeling big and empty, a single tear rolling down her cheek. This is the residence? Luna asked, touching down in front of Gadget's home. It wasn't what she'd been expecting. Surely a blacksmith must earn more. Yes, mistress, Fury confirms, opening the door for Luna. Please watch your step. It's not the cleanest of places. Well, you try working all day and raising a kid and find time to clean, Gadget yells, over a loud crashing noise. The strange device was tossed out of the workshop. The unicorn stallion trots up the stairs with 4 saddlebags slung over his flank, stuffed full of squirrels. Coming up behind was Applejack, carrying up even more saddlebags. That's most of it, Dusk. You can quit pretending to be asleep and gather up your toys. We're moving. Yay! Luna looked strangely at Gadget as little yellow blur ran down the stairs, hugs him, and then ran back upstairs. It doesn't seem normal for a filly to be so excited about moving. She isn't a normal filly, Gadget said, approaching the princess. Nice to meet you, your majesty. Name's Starwind the Beardless, or Gadget. I go by the latter more often these days, but I thought it would be rude not to tell you my real name. How noble, Luna praises. I hope you don't mind if I simply refer to you as Gadget. Whatever you prefer. Now, I want some moon phase armor, I hear. That you want some moon phase armor. Glad Allure finally managed to pitch that armor, but from what Miss Applejack has told me, you'll need more than just mere armor. Take a look at these. Several blueprints float over to Luna. She took them in her magic, looking them over with a critical eye, and she liked what she saw. What do you need to make these? Gadget smiles. I'm going to need bits, gems, and a lot of hooves. I know, the suspense is killing me too. I hope you are all enjoying the reading, as I also enjoy. This chapter was all over the place, I have to admit. Kind of my fault, really. The reading was sort of off. and I apologize for not realizing that my printer was almost out of ink. But about this chapter, I just have a few insights. One, it is not easy or cheap building an army at all. Any of you are historians, you know that an army takes time, money, and lots of training. Well, we can see why Luna wants to make a night patrol. Every pony deserves protection. That's a fact. Everyone here on Earth deserves protection. Regardless of status, money, titles, we all deserve protection. And the best way to do that is to watch each other's backs. Here in the United States, we are trying a not recent, but it's recent for me personally. It's a system that the military has set forth, and it is speak up. If you see something, speak up. If you hear something, speak up. The more we speak up, and the more we report the dangers or situations or emergencies, the quicker the responders can get to you. Now, I live in a small town, and our crime rate is minimal. However, a few months ago, back in August-September timeframe, the newspapers reported that more crimes are being reported now. People are no longer being quiet. They're coming forth, putting the local police department at a more higher standard, investigating these crimes to the fullest. Now, I'm not accustomed to big cities or overseas, Europe, Japan, China, Russia, France. I don't know much about those. What I do know is Luna is taking the proper steps. She is going to fund an army, as we can obviously see in Chapter 4. And Chapter 5 is confirming this with her sister, 2 rulers. So it doesn't look like a dictatorship. But now it comes down to this. How will the ponies react? How can we react to similar situations? my best advice for everyone right now is to speak up. You hear something, you see something, report it or try to stop it to your best abilities. If it's life-threatening, call 911. Call the local authorities. But if you can, with calm verbal tones, you can dispute most situations. This is Icy Night, and I'm going to be reporting back to Luna and see about getting more ink for the printer so I can continue reading this story to you. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.